Well, Russia is fighting back against Ukrainian troops in the Kursk region. A top military official says forces fired missiles and drones in an attempt to stop Kyiv's advances after its surprise offensive last week. CBS News foreign correspondent Holly Williams is following these new developments from London. Holly.
Good evening, Jerika. This is the biggest foreign incursion into Russia since World War II. And for Vladimir Putin and the Russian army, it is nothing short of a humiliation. Today, we saw video of Russian soldiers taken captive in their own country, a former superpower, and driven blindfolded in the back of a pickup truck into Ukraine. It's been more than 2 years since Putin ordered his military to invade Ukraine, starting a war that's killed at least tens of thousands and perhaps many more. But Ukraine says it now controls nearly 400 square miles of Russian territory. Now, the Ukrainian soldiers launched their surprise attack a week ago, and Moscow claims it's now repelling their advance. But the Ukrainians apparently overran Russian border checkpoints with ease. And it's Russians now evacuating their homes, more than 100,000 of them, some forced to live in tents and line up for humanitarian aid. Throughout this war, Ukraine has launched aerial attacks on Russia, while armed Russian exile groups have used Ukraine as a base for their assaults. But this is the first time Ukrainian forces have gone on the counterattack inside Russia on this scale. For the Ukrainians, it's leverage. Russia's occupying around 20% of their country, and they want it back. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said, quote, "Russia needs to be forced into peace. Russia brought this war to others, and now it's coming back home." Jerika.
Holly Williams, thank you. For more, former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, William Taylor, joins me now. He currently serves as a vice president at the United States Institute of Peace, focusing on Europe and Russia. Ambassador, thank you for joining us. How significant is this offensive from Ukrainian troops that we just heard Holly speak of?
Rika, this is enormously impressive and significant. As you said, as Holly just reported, it's the first time that Russia's been invaded since World War II, and the Ukrainians have demonstrated that they can cut it into Russia without difficulty. The Russians were caught totally by surprise. Rika, this is the amazing thing, that the surprise, the element of surprise, which is so important in warfare, was able to be achieved. The Ukrainians were able to move these forces up close to the border, and the Russians had no idea it was coming. So in answer to your question, it's a major accomplishment, and it's a significant turn in this war.
And if you could just remind our viewers why this is important in terms of our relationship with Ukraine. And do you think that this could change the dynamic? Is it too early to tell, because we're talking about a war that's been going on for over 2 years now?
This war's been going on for 2.5 years. You're absolutely right. And this could change the dynamic. This could demonstrate to Vladimir Putin, who, as again, Holly just reported, caused this war. We know the reason for this war is he's invaded. Putin invaded Ukraine 2.5 years ago and is occupying still 20% of Ukraine. So this is a major change. If this convinces Putin that he cannot win, if this convinces Putin that Ukraine will continue to fight back, and if this convinces Putin that the Europeans will continue to support Ukraine, the Americans will continue to support Ukraine, then he may look for a way out. He knows the way out. It's just to pull his troops out of Ukraine.
The U.S. has obviously been supporting the military and has shown support for Ukraine. But is there a sense that the U.S. was somehow involved directly in this offensive?
No indication, Jerika, no indication that the United States even knew about it. Again, I've talked about the secrecy, the operational security that the Ukrainians exhibited in moving this thing. The Americans didn't seem to know. No one seemed to. There were not many Ukrainians who knew about this. So this was a major accomplishment in turning this into a big surprise for Putin.
Ambassador, where do we go from here? What do you think will happen next?
So I think this has already had a big effect, Jerika. This has already had a big effect on morale in Ukraine. The Ukrainians are very pleased. They're excited that they're now on the offensive. They're not after taking territory, but they have demonstrated that they can push the Russians around and have done that. And on the other side, the morale on the Russian side is terrible. Putin is in disarray. He's assigned 3 different organizations the responsibility to take responsibility here, and none has. So there's no immediate sense that the Russians are able to respond. So where does this go from here? Again, this may convince Putin that the time is to stop this mistake and to pull out of Ukraine.
All right, Ambassador William Taylor, always a pleasure to have you. Thank you.